Hey y'all, welcome back to Mulberry Branch Farm. My name is Ashley, and today, even though we're getting really close to Christmas, it is actually the 22nd. Tomorrow we are going to be experiencing an Arctic vortex, and we have got to get our barn and our coops ready. And I figured I'd bring y'all along to let you know how we brace our farm and set our livestock up to success during an Arctic vortex. But a lot of people don't understand the stress that farmers or homesteaders go through when we have weather events like this. And that's because a lot of times as human beings, we just assume we're taking care of ourselves or our immediate family inside of our house. But if you're a homesteader, you have all these other living beings that you might have in your house and on your property. You are a steward over your livestock, so you don't only prepare your household and your direct family in your house, you start preparing things in your coop and in your barn and in your shelters because they depend on you too. So let's get into some of the tips and tricks we're going to be exercising here on Mulberry Branch Farm on how to get our livestock through an Arctic vortex. So with this Arctic vortex that's actually moving into our area tonight, right now it's about 37 degrees. We're actually supposed to get a little bit warmer today, but then tonight we're going to go down into the negatives. And then with the wind chill that's coming, it's going to feel like negative 36 here tomorrow, y'all. It is going to feel so cold, and temperatures like that can be pretty dangerous, but as with all things, it can be avoided as long as we set ourselves up for success on our farms. So I've seen a lot of people on Facebook, a lot of new livestock owners out there, a lot of new homesteaders. What do I do for my chickens? What do I do for my goats? What do I do for a lot of things? And guys, the answers are actually pretty simple. First and foremost is you need to be able to provide your animals with shelter. Doesn't have to be completely enclosed, though. With this, we're supposed to be getting snow, a lot of condensation. It's actually raining right now. So for us, the biggest concern is making sure that all of our animals have the ability to get out of the wind and to stay dry, because exposure is going to be the number one reason why any animal will expire in weather like this. And while I do plan to close up my goats tonight and possibly close them up tomorrow, depending on how crazy it gets, we do have doors on each side of our barn, and actually up top where our loft is at and where our addition was built, we made sure that our builders left just the tiniest little slots all the way across when they put on our additions, and that's for ventilation, so that air can come in here, but it can escape as well, so that the air doesn't get stagnant, or you don't have a huge buildup of like ammonia from deep bedding litter or bedding that is just getting dirty. So today we've actually started to clear out some of our wasted hay, and I'm actually going to be putting this in our duck coop and our chicken coop, because I'm not going to put heaters in any of my barns, guys. That is asking for a fire. Just read me really loud and clear on this one. Please be careful if you're going to be using heat lamps in your barn. 99% of the time, your animals do not need it. My goats don't need to have a heat lamp. The donkeys don't need a heat lamp. The chickens, the ducks, they don't need a heat lamp. No heat lamp. Big X through the heat lamp, because they have had the chance to acclimate to this weather naturally, because they're kept outside. They're able to come into the barn as they wish, and they're closed up at night for safety purposes, because of predators. But for the most part, nature has designed your livestock to be able to take care of themselves in weather like this. The only reason that livestock might not be able to take care of themselves in weather like this is how we've bred them, or because we're not letting them stay in a natural environment. We're putting sweaters on them, we're putting heat lamps over them, we're bringing them inside so that my goats grow nice fluffy coats because they're used to being outside. So bedding is another thing that's going to be really, really important when you're closing in your animals for a storm like this. And the reason for that is it gives them something to get down and snuggle into, and creates another layer of insulation. And while I know that my chickens will go up and roost, they might choose to go into nesting boxes, which I do have some that they like to sleep in the nesting box. They don't like to sleep on their roosts. And I will make sure that that's all lined with straw or spent hay that the goats wasted that I can't possibly waste because I've spent too much money on hay, and I will be using it for bedding for my other animals all around the farm. Bedding is important. It just gives them that little extra layer of insulation to cuddle up into to help to conserve their body heat. And while I've got my wasted hay here for bedding, hay that's not wasted, that hasn't been on the ground, for your ruminants, for your horses, your donkeys, goats, cows, anything that's going to be eating hay, this will be available around the clock while they are going through this weather event. Because eating things like hay and all of the fibers that we give them is good for their rumen. As long as their rumen is working, a healthy working rumen helps to keep the body temperature up. So they will have free choice hay. And if you decide that you want to grain your animals, I know everybody feels differently about grains, especially how often and what they should be given to. But I will be graining in the evening time because grain burns really fast in the rumen. It goes through their system faster, which means it's an instant calorie boost, which brings their body heat up for a little while. So I'll try to wait as close to dark as I can for that, so that when their body is at peak digestion for that grain, it should be right in the middle of the night when it's going to probably be the coldest. So it will help them to have better body heat at the very peak of this weather event. And while we have our little friends here like Bun Bun, who almost never gets to be seen that much, Bun Bun, you can see, does have hay in there, but I will be restocking his hay. He will get more pellets, and he will get a little bit of warm water right before bedtime to help him cope with the weather. But I'm not bringing him in. I'm not bringing any of my animals in because they don't need to be brought in. They just need to be given shelter to get out of the elements, bedding to get down in and stay warm, and something to keep their bellies, their rumens, their stomachs going, so that while they're digesting and experiencing that peak caloric intake digestively, that it's actually helping their body heat to stay up. Another thing that we make sure to pay special attention to, which this is a given year-round for any type of livestock enthusiast that has livestock, whether you're a farmer, a hobby farmer, or you just like to have a couple goats in the backyard because they're cute and they're wonderful and we love goats. Water. Water needs to be kept accessible and thawed out. You guys can see I have my heater there in the bottom of this tank, and it's actually warm enough. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but it's actually got steam coming up and off of it because it's staying that warm and the temperatures are starting to eke down. So while I have this readily available all day during the nighttime, I will make sure that we have buckets of water available to them inside the barn, and they will be refreshed in the morning or whenever they're going to be shut up, because they'll have this outside and it is good for them to get out and move, but I don't want them to be out in these elements for too long if they can avoid it or if they don't want to be. Down at the chicken coop, we're going to make sure, sorry for the light change, we are going to make sure that all of our windows that are usually open for ventilation, will be shut. We're going to make sure those are closed because our chicken coop, we have ventilation through these vents on the side so that it can ventilate, but we don't have to worry too much about a whole lot of cold air coming in here. So, and while I have two sides to my coop, I'm not going to keep two sides open. I'm going to keep this side closed. I'll instead keep this side of the coop open so that I am encouraging all of my birds to come into one area and that their body heat will heat up a smaller area and keep them a lot warmer. But need to close the window over here too. And really, the only guys that I'm worried about throughout this weather event are my bucks. Because while my bucks do have a good shelter that is three-sided, with the amount of wind that we're going to be having and snow and blizzard-like conditions we could be experiencing, I just really don't think this is going to be adequate for them. So these guys will get to stay in the barn tonight, which means they'll be able to flirt with the ladies, even though all the ladies pretty much have been bred but I'll be moving them inside so that they too can get out of the elements, hunker down, stay warm, and have all kinds of things that are going to be available to them that they might not want to leave their shelter to walk all the way over here to get to their water. So we will be moving them in. So in retrospect, there's really only about 4 things that you really need to be concerned about when it comes to getting your livestock through an Arctic vortex or any type of weather event like we're experiencing here shortly. And that's going to be adequate shelter, which can be just something that keeps them dry and out of the wind. It keeps them out of the exposure. Bedding so that they can bed down deep and help to insulate themselves at night if they're having trouble keeping their own body heat up. Making sure that they have food readily available to them during this event, because the more calories they take in, the higher their body temperature will be, and it'll be a lot easier for them to sustain their own body heat. And then water. Everything needs to make sure that they're staying hydrated, because they're going to die of thirst before they'll ever die of starvation. And albeit there are a couple of one-off things that you might need to make sure that you're paying attention to when it comes to preparing your farm for weather events like this, and that might just be you're preparing for emergency type situations. You know, you're making sure that you've got all your grain in, all your hay is available. If there's any type of go-to pharmaceutical that you might need, whether it comes to like pneumonia or injuries like blood stop, gauze, vet wrap, things like that that you might not be able to get out and get when it comes to weather conditions that might make it hard for you to travel, or for deliveries to get here on time. Maybe you've got it in the mail already, but if it comes during the middle of a winter storm, odds are it's not going to get to you on time. And if your farm is anything like mine, you experience emergencies when your stores are low. So we really try to make sure that we're never low in stores, like probiotics, dewormers, charcoal, penicillin, all of those regular things that livestock might need in case of emergency, that are kind of broad spectrum that you can use in a pinch when you've got something happening on your farm that you might not be able to get a vet out for, or you might not be able to just run to your local big box store or Tractor Supply to go get these things. So I hope that you all found that a little bit helpful while we're all getting ready to experience these terrible conditions. And while it's no fun just as a human being going through blizzards or really cold periods of time, it can be even more stressful if you own livestock, because you're not just worried about your own well-being, you're a steward over those livestock, and you have to be able to take care of them too. It's definitely a downfall. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know by dropping me a like, leaving me a comment, subscribing. We hope that everybody stays safe whenever they are experiencing a weather event like this. We pray that God keeps his hand over all of your barns and coops, over yourselves and your family. We hope that you're all staying safe out there and being kind to one another. We will catch y'all in the next one. God bless you. Bye, y'all.
At that point, because now we're just less than 24 hours away. So, ice.
Well, of course, love.